30, $40 million, right? So, there's a lot of different ways that you can actually release a film or produce a film, right? So once again, these are some of the things that are taken into consideration, right?
Yeah.
So, Mitsu, can you read the next paragraph, please?
The producer and screenwriter prepare a film pitch and present it to potential financiers. If the pitch is successful, the film receives a green light, meaning someone offers financial backing, typically a major film studio, film council, or independent investor. The parties involved negotiate a deal and sign contracts. Once the parties have met and the deal has been set, the film may proceed into the pre-production period. By this stage, the film should have a clearly defined marketing strategy and target audience.
Okay. So this once again is just talking about how you prepare the film pitch, which is that 5-minute presentation of this is the movie, this is the screenplay, but this is really what the movie's central message is, right? And potential financiers, a financier,
what's film pitch?
A pitch. A pitch is basically we call so.
Like pitch.
Well, like not like pitch. I mean, it comes from baseball pitch.
No, I mean the
mean the
pitch.
voice. Pitch level, like high pitch.
No, it's not that. That's a different type of pitch. That's the pitch of your voice, right? The frequency of your voice.
No, I mean the distance, the rhythm. Yeah. I mean pitch.
Oh yeah, exactly. This is different. This is a different type of pitch, right? A pitch is basically a presentation, but a pitch is basically pitch is the it's a very brief presentation of an idea, right? A very brief presentation of an idea. Right? I want to focus on the word brief, right? Because there's a concept called an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is maybe 20 seconds. Because you know what it is? You're in the elevator alone with someone who is a possible investor, right? They are a financier. They're someone with a lot of money. You have 20 seconds to tell them what your idea is and why they should invest in you, right? So a pitch is basically very brief. When we develop this, let's say we're talking about developing a coat, a new type of coat, right? We're not going to go into specifics about the great detail. We're not going to say it's going to be exactly this type of fiber, it's going to be sewn exactly this way, we're going to use exactly this type of material, we're going to produce it in a certain type of factory. Those are details and they're great. We need to know those details because if those details have to be in order, right, for the plan to succeed. But an investor isn't worried about all that. The investor wants to know, what does it look like? What season do you want to sell it in? And how much money are you going to sell it for? How much money do you think we can earn? He wants to know the high level, right? So a pitch is about the high level idea, right? It's not about the details. It's about the high level idea. So really, the producer and the screenwriter, right, they've prepared this pitch, right? The film receives a green light. This is an expression. What does a green light mean? Chin, what does a green light mean? Go, right? Right? So if you green light a project, that means you were saying, okay, I approve. I'm going to give you guys funding, right? And potential financiers are the people who might be able to fund the project, right? So what they're saying is and then they're saying typically a major film studio, film council, or independent investor. It could be a person, right? It could be a film council that gets funding from the government, right? And their funding is to basically give grants to local film projects. Or it could be a major film studio, like we were talking about, Miramax, DreamWorks, any of these huge film studios, right? The parties involved negotiate a deal and sign contracts. So, you guys are familiar with the term negotiate, right? You guys understand what the word negotiate means, right? Minsu? So they negotiate because what they're saying is, okay, you need $75 million. MM is a way of saying million, right? It's a way of writing million, right? Well, I'll just write it out to make it easier for you guys. So you need 75 million, right? So the negotiation is going to be basically, okay, so then the studio is saying, we want 90% of the profits, right? So basically, they'll say that if you earn, $100 million, we want 90, right? But then, obviously, the producer and the screenwriter, imagine if you were in their spot, you don't want to give up 90%. Hell, you're doing all the hard work. So maybe you're going to say, hell no, 50%. It'll be like, wait, this is usually, we get at least 50%. So then maybe you guys will negotiate, go back and forth, and finally you guys will settle on, okay, 75%. We keep 75%, you guys keep 25%, go make the movie.
It's like they're going to get their money back, right? The
Yeah.
investor, the ones who give you the money.
Well, no, they want to make a profit.
So the same number you're talking about, we make 100 million.
Yeah, this is on top of this is on
percent.
top of returning the money, obviously. Like you have to pay for the movie. Well, I mean, sometimes obviously you have some movies that do really, really badly, right? I should have actually brought some examples, right? For instance, there was a movie by Kevin Costner. Who was for a while, he was a very, very famous, he still is, he doesn't really do too many movies anymore, but he did this movie called Waterworld. And Waterworld was this movie set in future where they're saying the entire planet is covered by water, right? Global warming causes like tidal waves, tsunamis all over the world, and everyone lives on these giant boats and stuff, right? So they had to build this really, really expensive set for it, right? And I think it costs like over $200 million. But the movie's total sales were like 30 or 40 million. They lost $160 million on that movie. It was something ridiculous, right? And on the other hand, I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie Top Gun.
Yeah.
You guys have seen the movie, right? So Top Gun, it's an amazing film, right? It's an amazing movie. And Top Gun is a movie about fighter pilots. And Tom Cruise is in it, Val Kilmer's in it. There's a lot of really famous actors in it, basically. And a lot of famous people behind the movie. Even the director was very, very highly respected. That movie came out in 1984, right? So Top Gun. I'm just giving you guys some examples, right? It was made in 1984. And do you know how much money they spent on it? Take a guess. Don't look at your iPhones. Don't look at your smartphone. What's that?
I said 20 million.
20 million, right? How much do you think they spent on it? In 1984.
94.
Remember, money was more, dollars were more powerful then, right?
Oh yeah.
Because as time goes on.
Yeah.
What do you think? 20 million?
That's a good guess.
What do you think? How much money do you think they spent on the movie?
That's 10 million.
You guys you're almost right? They spent 50, that was great. When a friend of mine once asked me this, I was like, well, they must have spent like 80, 90 million on that. They actually spent about 15 million, right? To date, do you guys have an idea of, this is 2012, right? Over the last 28 years, right? How much total money do you think this film has raised?
Probably
Triple.
Double, triple, what are you thinking? Shin?
yeah, I think
Triple, right?
Yeah.
Still buy the movies.
so. Oh.
$360 million and counting. So, this is an example of course, of a movie that, and of course you have to take into account that maybe if this movie was, there's a concept that if you guys take finance, you'll learn inflation, right? Time value of money, right? Money today, why interest exists because of inflation, right? Money today is not worth, is stronger than money tomorrow, right? Which is why you always want to get paid sooner than later, right? So, but even then, this is like, it's an enormous profit. It's an enormous profit, right? Really, this split, this is 90% of the profits. Of course, your very first priority is to pay back this 75 million, right? You have to at least break even. Breaking even means that we don't make any money, but we don't lose any money either, right? But what they're saying is on top of this, the negotiation really is about profits. But because the problem is when you make $100 million, okay, how do we split this? not 50-50, and not like these guys saying 90%. Well, we're going to be close to the middle, right? 75%, right? Or 70%, something like that. So these are part of the negotiations that happen once the studio says green light, right? Then you start negotiating. Now, what's really funny is, sometimes you can use, so negotiations is itself very interesting, right? Maybe they say, okay, Warner Brothers says we want 90%. You could say, no, we're only offering 50%. Why? Because Universal Studios said that they would let us keep 50%. So then Warner Brothers is like, oh, okay. Then maybe we'll give you guys more money up front, and you only need to pay us back $75 million. And you know what? 75% of the profits, and we'll give you more money up front. So there's a lot of different, so negotiations are really interesting, right? But this is just an example, very simple example of the types of negotiations that happen, right? So once everyone is agreed, once the handshake happens and everyone signs the contracts, the film can proceed to pre-production, right? And by now, everyone has the same idea. The distribution company, right? Like Warner Brothers, let's say Warner Brothers wins, right? And they own the rights to the movie, right? They're the ones who are going to finance it and everything. They have a strategy. We think this is the market that it's going to use. We think that, we're going to advertise it on billboards in Times Square and in Los Angeles. And we're going to show advertisements on TV at 8 p.m. on Monday when everyone's home, right? They have to think about all of those things. So, the reason why they get to keep so much of the profits, right, is not only because they're paying $75 million, but because the distribution company also has to pay for all the advertising, all the promotion that you do, all the marketing that you do for the movie, right? And also just later on you'll see, like in post-production, when they create the DVDs and the Blu-rays, the posters, all these costs, right, are met by the distribution company. This is why they generally keep so much of the profits. Because all of this comes out of